Good evening. I hereby call to order the action session of the Board of School Commissioners for Indianapolis Public Schools on Thursday, December 17, 2015. The colors tonight will be posted by the color guard from John Marshall Community High School. JROTC battalion members posting the colors are Commander Cadet Colonel Miranda Conley, Right Rifle Cadet Second Lieutenant Daisha Martin, American Flag Cadet Command Sergeant Major Jerry Harris, State Flag Cadet Second Lieutenant Sean Paxton, School Board Flag Cadet Second Lieutenant Renique Earls, Left Rifle Cadet Corporal Jasmine Hill.
Color guard, attention. Carry colors. Forward, march. Color guard, halt. Color reverse, march. Color guard, halt. Present arms. Order, arms. Right, face. Come right, march. Color guard, halt. Halt. Colors. Present. Arms.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Face. Forward, march.
Thank you to the JROTC battalion from John Marshall Community High School. Commissioner Eccles, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bentley. Commissioner Cosby.
Present.
Commissioner Eccles, President. President, right. Present. Commissioner O'Connor.
Present.
Commissioner Odle. Commissioner Sullivan.
Here.
And President Arnold.
Here. Thank you, Commissioner Eccles. We will now adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting. Reviewing the proposed agenda, are there any requests for changes to the agenda as presented? Having adopted the agenda, we will now proceed to Section 2. We'll also report that Commissioner Odle is now in attendance. Recognitions. If there is any group in the audience that would like to be recognized, please stand, introduce yourself, and tell us the group that you are here representing. Thank you. Now we will move into special recognitions. We have a special recognition tonight from Shortridge High School. Shortridge Magnet High School would like to recognize Marie Lowe for her commitment to serving our students. With her kindness and creativity, she organized and chaperoned a freshman lock-in, homecoming, and prom. Her generosity is exemplified in her project called The Shop, which is a labor of love with her sister and a network of other Indianapolis parents. The Shop provides uniforms, professional and prom attire to students for low or no cost. She also makes time to learn about classroom work, and she's actively involved in extracurricular activities for her son. It is my pleasure to present Marie Lowe a certificate of recognition for her work supporting Shortridge. Ms. Lowe, would you please come forward and be recognized? Again, thank you, Ms. Lowe, for your service to IPS and our students. We will now move to student performance, where tonight we will have a student performance from the Mandarin Dance Group from Center for Inquiry School 2.
燃烧自己，只为照亮你，把我一切都献给你，只要你欢喜。你让我每个明天都变得有意义，生命虽短，爱你永远不离不弃。你是我的小呀小苹果，怎么爱你都不嫌多，红红的笑脸温暖我的心窝，点亮我生命的火，火火火火火。你是我的小呀小苹果，就像天边最美的云朵，春天又来到了花开满山坡，种下希望就会收获。有你的每天都新鲜，有你阳光更灿烂，有你黑夜不黑暗，你是白云，我是蓝天。春天和你漫步在盛开的花丛间，夏天夜晚陪你一起看星星眨眼，秋天黄昏与你徜徉在金色麦田，冬天雪花飞舞有你更加温暖。你是我的小呀小苹果，怎么爱你都不嫌多，红红的笑脸温暖我的心窝，点亮我生命的
you imagine if I couldn't even memorize that many moves?
43, was that yours?
Well, if that doesn't put you in the holiday spirit, nothing will. Let's give them, as they're leaving, another hand. They did a great job. Commissioner comments. We will now hear from commissioners. Any commissioner wish to offer a comment? Commissioner Eccles?
Try to make this quick. Good evening, friends. During my tenure as commissioner, I've been quiet, not due to lack of opinions, but due to the need to observe and absorb. As a child, my mother told me I have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You must listen more and talk less. So with this sage advice, I've been listening to both the administration and the community. In the Mass Insight survey that was shared with us on Tuesday, it was noted that by many, we may be doing too much too fast. I understand that change is painful and empathize with how that affects those in the IPS community. The fact of the matter is 50% of our schools are D and F schools. When a child's future is at stake, we cannot accept anything by choosing to do everything we can. When a child's future is at stake, we cannot accept anything but choosing to do everything we can to ensure he or she has a bright future. We owe it to our children to do more quickly. While it is imperative that we move quickly, it is equally as imperative that we invest an abundance of time and effort in communicating effectively these changes. Quite simply, we as a district have not been doing that well for a long time. The simple fact, many of the communities in our district have never had an honest and open communication from institutions of power. While there is a righteous mistrust and little conversation, miscommunication and rumor are allowed to fester. This hurts our collective goal of educating children. On Tuesday night, a teacher from Riverside Elementary spoke up about the problems in his school. He talked about the rumored changes in the school administration and the uncertain direction he and his fellow teachers were going. He also told us how, without permanent teachers in his school, how difficult this is. In the same breath, he made it clear that he was flexible and wanted to know the plans for his school. He deserves to know the direction his school is going. I'm excited by the work we are doing to ensure every child is well served in our school. I fully support the board's vision and the strategic plan of the district. We will come out of this difficult process stronger as a city. However, we as a district must do a better job of having the challenging conversations and communicating our next steps sooner. We cannot allow miscommunication that can destroy our hard work. So our neighbors deserve honesty and transparency. As a commissioner, I expect nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Commissioner Cosby?
I don't want to steal anyone's thunder if they were going to announce this, but I just want to say how proud I am of School 56 for being named a Title I Distinguished School. That's a huge deal. I'm very proud of that accomplishment for the district, and wanted to briefly share one of my New Year's resolutions with you that I know I'm going to make. Next year, I want to refocus on engaging with parents and families and stakeholders, and many of the other commissioners have remained dedicated in holding a monthly commissioner chat, and life gets in the way sometimes. I did that on a regular basis before, so I'm going to recommit to that for next year and invite anybody who agrees or disagrees, okay? So I just wanted to share that with everyone in the spirit of wishing everyone a happy holiday.
Other commissioner comments? Commissioner Odle?
Yeah, at one of our at our retreat that was a public meeting, we heard from the Junior Achievement about the Job Spark program, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get up in time to get to the breakfast this morning at the kickoff. There were, over 200 people there representing different companies that are really going to, I think, going to partner with Jay to make sure that our students have more of a connection from education to workplace, education to career, education to post high school opportunity. So really looking forward and want to thank Jay and all of the corporations that are reaching out to help IPS students, because I think it really is going to make a difference. So look forward to working with them on that. And again, I think that we can continue to communicate with our constituency and to parents in the district. And I just encourage people to really look at the website, look at the connections that we have out there. There's a wealth of information for parents about what's going on. And I think we'll all redouble our efforts next year to communicate even more to the community, because IPS will have to make more changes. The status quo is not an option. We have to move forward with the changes. And I look forward to working with all the commissioners, the community, and the administration on making those changes going forward. Happy holidays.
Other comments? Commissioner O'Connor?
Sort of along the lines of what Commissioner Cosby has talked about, I want to recommend to anybody from the East Side, I'll be participating on January 30th, after the first year, but on the Near East Side Education Summit on January 30th, which is a Saturday. It starts at 9 a.m. and it's at the Thomas D. Gregg School 15. Again, hopefully begin that discussion of community engagement and challenges we face, the changes we're making, and again, same thing, wish everybody happy holidays.
I would just like to say this is my last meeting serving as president of this body. I would just like to thank my fellow commissioners for their confidence in my ability to do this. I'd like to thank Commissioner Odle for sitting in for me when I've been away or not been able to talk. I appreciate what everyone has said tonight. I think we do need to work harder at engaging all of the stakeholders, but I do think change is essential. The clock is ticking and our children are waiting, and we have to do better for them. I'm very excited, very pleased to have worked with the administration this year, and very excited about the positive change that's coming about, and look for really positive results to begin to show up next year. So again, thank you very much. We will now move to public comment. We will now receive comment from those who have signed up to offer comments to the board. We have 2 speakers scheduled to speak. I will remind you that our speakers are allowed 3 minutes, and our secretary will keep track of the time, and that comments should be directed to the board and not to any individual commissioner. And we ask you to quickly conclude once you've been noticed that your time has expired. I will now call Rhonda Lynn Cornett to the podium. Tonight, I would like to share my thoughts and concerns from some of the veteran teachers in the district, and special area teachers in the district. Their concern is over student-based budgeting. As I understand the concept for student-based budgeting, budgets are set according to the student population. This budget also includes personnel, certified and classified. The concern comes from how do schools stay within the budget with the vast difference of experience of teachers. The concern becomes, do administrators stay within their budget by keeping teachers on the low end of the pay scale? If teachers are displaced because they have more experience or cost more, is this the beginning of age discrimination? And this is what the teachers are afraid of. Another concern comes from special area educators. With autonomy, would administrators be able to make the decision that they will no longer offer PE, art, and music? I know you all know the importance of the arts, that the arts play in the development of children. So again, I also expressed in previous conversations before, when autonomy schools are chosen, the decisions I know are made for the best interest of children, and also not just one person making the decisions, but a team that includes not just the administrators, but all stakeholders, teachers, parents, students, community, and business partners. Change the subject, on a more celebratory note, on Saturday, January 16th,
2016, IA will be celebrating our 43rd annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship Luncheon. It will be located at the historic Madam Walker Building. I sent each board member an invitation, so you should have gotten them already. IEA gives one scholarship to a high school senior from each IPS high school. It would be nice to see some board members there supporting our students for their achievements. Usually our Indiana Superintendent, Glenda Ritz, comes and celebrates with the students, and this year Congressman Andre Carson is trying to adjust his schedule so that he can come and spend some time with us too this year. So finally, I want to wish each of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Larry Vaughn.
Good evening. Now you see my concern, the havoc and degradation that this board can wreak on any community that's set up in this fashion. That's why there's rules that these boards have to abide by. Some of them are in our Constitution, Article 8, Section 3. It talks about the principle of the Common School Fund. It says that the principle of the Common School Fund shall remain a perpetual fund. That means it continues, which may be increased but shall never be diminished, and the income thereof shall be inviolably appropriated to the support of the common schools and no other purpose whatever. Now that's definite. Funding charter schools is not the common school system. The common school system is the district. You don't hear Warren or Lawrence complaining about budget shortfalls. Because why? Because the common school in this district operates at cost. That's what it's in the Constitution. And the reason why I'm down here, because I'm a little uncertain about the rules that you're playing by on these boards, because I don't know anything about them. And there is a method. Any citizen can ask for your resignation at any time and bring information to the right officials to have you ousted from this board. And that's just what I'm trying to do. Now, it may be some kind of rash things that I do, but when you're on this board, you can do nothing about it because you're causing irreparable damage to our community. You sit up there and you joke and laugh about it. You think it's funny. It's not funny when you set up a charter school in the Union Station, not Union Station, but the Circle Center Mall, and expose underprivileged kids to the wants that they want and see every day in this mall of high-class merchandise. They don't have any money to pay for this. They want it. It sets up a situation where you're exposing them to a zone that's not free from pedophiles. That means anybody can walk through that mall at any time. At least in a school building, there is some buffer of protection there for them. But when you put them in that mall, you're bringing in the molesters and everybody else who wants to view them and market to them. Somebody's going to say, I'll give you $200. Somebody's going to be in that mall boosting, catching a case. So if anybody comes down here, and you people at home, I advise you to come down here and bring your information on these people who are sitting on this board. And that's what our Constitution and free speech is all about, to make it so uncomfortable for them in their communities, in their circle of friends, in their synagogues or churches, so that they won't want to remain on this board because they're not really being paid to sit on this board. $6,000 amounts to slave labor, administering this IPS contract. So I just remind you that free speech is the First Amendment right, and when you don't respect free speech, then and you can't take 3 minutes of some person bringing information on you, then something must be wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. We will now move to the consent agenda. We will take a motion to approve those items on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve all of the items on the consent agenda. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I will now turn the agenda over to Dr. Farabee.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you, Madam President. Next section is Section 5. Administration is prepared to entertain any questions or comments as relates to the Treasury Report, item 5.01.
Need a motion?
We'll need a motion to approve. We don't approve? Okay, we do.
Move approval of Treasurer's Report.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the Treasurer's Report. Comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving to Section 6.
At the agenda review session on Tuesday, December 15th, administration in partnership with Mass Insight provided an update on the district diagnostic conducted by Mass Insight. Also provided a presentation by Shanae Staples for LASA Academy as it relates to an Innovation School Fellowship and an Innovation School proposal. Any comments or questions related to the reports presented at the agenda review session?
Move approval of,
No, those were just reports.
okay. So, the timing of the Innovation School Fellow proposal, would that be a 2017 or 2016 school year?
Yes, this particular proposal was a proposal for a school to open in the fall of 2016. And so given the favorable response to the proposal, administration will pursue negotiations and conversations around potential opportunities for innovation schools in the district.
And so if that were to be in an existing school, when would we hear that recommendation?
Based on our timeline, those decisions will begin to occur around February, March.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Moving to unfinished business.
Section 7, there was one item which is a follow-up of review of a proposed policy, which is a revision to our Innovation Network Schools policy. Request that the Board of School Commissioners approve the policy as presented.
Move approval.
Comments or questions? Commissioner Cosby?
I'm not sure if this comment is going to align with item 7.01 or 8.01. However, I just have a request. In looking at both of these agenda items, I don't see any mention of plans, and I know administrative guidelines are going to roll out at a later date, but I'd really like to see plans for how we involve the school communities in a way that they are presented with the opportunity to give a lot of input on the choice that is made in terms of which innovation model might be chosen. So I'm not sure to the extent that that can be addressed in administrative guidelines or how that should look, but I think I would like to see that. I think the community would like to see that as well. So if it's a part of a timeline or some other document, that's fine, but I'm concerned about, how we plan to involve the parents and the community in these decisions as they come up.
Yeah, that actually is addressed in some form in action item 8.01. But as you suggested, and 8.01 indicates this in the restart model, when we would start conversation with the community as it relates to a school that would be eligible for a restart as an innovation school, and there's a timeline set within that particular model. But of course, we would have conversation first with families and staff, but any school that would be considered for innovation school.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes, and I think it should also be noted that once we approve this timeline, that is out there, and so people will know where their school might fall on this, and there's nothing to say that school communities can't be very proactive about gathering their families, getting community together. There's not a reason to have to wait for the district, but I do agree that we need a process and some clarity on that, but this makes it a little more transparent to families because they can look at where their school is at, what's happening there, and kind of see the path that's laid out in front of them. So I would urge all of our schools to engage their families under all circumstances, but particularly those schools that are not doing very well academically and may fall into this plan, then sooner is better than later.
Commissioner Odle?
Well, the other thing is, I recall that in the Innovation School Plan, when you submit your plan, you have to talk about how you're going to engage the community, what you've done so far, and what your plan is going forward. So I feel comfortable that, we have the opportunity to review that plan, and it's our responsibility to review that plan and make sure there is enough community engagement before we would approve a plan for an innovation school.
To that extent, I actually opened up the document that talks about this, and that there is actually a typo in that section of the document, where it says, conduct a community needs assessment and develop a community engagement plan, which is, I think, what we're talking about. There's two O's in develop.
Where are you?
I am in
You in 7.01 or 8.01?
7.01.
Okay.
The requirements,
Development's just.
BP 2620,
Okay.
develop.
Got it.
But
We'll
that's
have-
that's the section that I opened it up to look at that. It's minor typo, but
We'll have staff correct the typo.
Because this is a policy, we will take a roll call vote.
Commissioner Cosby?
No.
Commissioner Eccles, yes. Commissioner O'Connor?
yes.
Commissioner Odle?
Yes?
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes.
President Arnold?
Yes. We will now move to new business.
In new business, the first item is 8.01, which is our innovation restart model. We're asking Commissioner consider this framework for action. As referenced earlier, there are steps in this model that speak to when schools will provide notification to the school community on their performance, when there is lack thereof, and then there also is a timeline in which schools would be notified of potential restart, and there's also mention of community engagement regarding the school's eligibility for restart status. And again, this particular model, we believe, will help provide clarity of when schools will be eligible for restart, and also outline when that communication process starts sooner rather than later. As outlined in the agenda review session, while this framework is great for future notification and communication, we do have schools that are already in the red status, if you will, and beyond, that we will be considering for possible restart this spring around the February-March timeline, as discussed earlier, as related to potential innovation schools.
Other comments, questions? Commissioner Cosby?
So, I just want to share something, because I feel like sometimes the perception's a little off. I support innovation. I think where I'm stuck and what my questions have been around a lot is, first, the vetting process, and you've seen me, raise certain questions around that. I guess where I'm at right now is really wanting to dig deep and have conversations about innovation, because innovation is here. But I'd really like to see, to the extent that we can engage families and parents on the front end, I'd rather not present families with a limited choice. I'd rather see them educated around many options and have them kind of be in the know about what a wider scope of options are before we kind of say, well, there's A, B, or maybe even C. And I hope that makes sense, and I don't know if we can get to that with these documents, and that's where my concerns are at right now.
One question I have, and I think I discussed this one point in time, but on each of the sort of years in F1, 2, 3, we have notified by principals of the school community contact, notified by schools, by principal schools' performance and the plans to address the development areas or whatever that may be, all the way down to the red. with regards to restart. The one thing, and I think this echoes Commissioner Eccles' comments this morning, is sort of the better understanding of what that notification looks like would help me a lot. Sort of the more than a simple letter home in the kid's backpack, but sort of what processes are we using to make those notifications and provide that engagement. I'm not looking for an answer now, but as we further develop this sort of a presentation on how we're engaging the school community.
Yep. We'll be happy to flesh that out, and we've already started that process for some schools, so we'll be happy to drill down a little bit further.
Great.
What this looks like. I agree. I don't think that one mode of communication for families is a solution, but I just would, back to Commissioner Cosby's comment, our process has been to share with the school community, the staff and families and parents of what the options are and begin visioning on what they would like to see in the future of the school, but also notifying them with those options that it's their administration's responsibility to take the information input received and make a recommendation to the Board of School Commissioners on how the school should be transformed. And so we talk a lot about how that process will flow as well. So we're happy to, if the board elects to approve this framework, to provide further details of how specific communication channels will be built around notification.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate that there are no barriers to any schools and any school communities having these conversations at any point in their schools. And so I think it would be a wonderful outcome if some of the schools and school communities get out in front of these bars of timing and are proactive in researching programs that they think would be great in their school and even bring that to the district. I mean, this doesn't prohibit any of that from happening. This is just kind of what we're doing on our end, kind of the least that we would have to do, the base for that. But more of this is better, and more of it that's driven at the school level is better. So I just don't see this as any sort of a barrier towards having the great conversations that we need to have in our schools, and would encourage our schools to begin those conversations if they feel like this is something that's going to impact them.
And that's why we organized the document to, what happens at the district level, what happens with the principal, what happens in the school community, because you'll note, for example, in year one, the expectation is that the principal has a conversation with the school community about performance and plans to address areas of concern. So the goal is to be as proactive as possible when the school is struggling with student achievement.
Commissioner Cosby?
And this is a quick question. I don't know if it's premature or if you have the answer to it, but I think, like a lot of folks, a little concerned about the ISTEP results that we're seeing this year. In terms of this restart timeline, do you know yet how this year's results will be treated, Dr. Farabee?
So, Commissioner Cosby, that is a very dynamic and fluid situation right now. The information that we're receiving on ISTEP results and accountability grades is fluctuating daily. As we all know, there's been recent media around possible mistakes with scoring that may have impacted many students across the state of Indiana. So what we've done is studied our own formative data on where we believe schools are to also inform some of the decisions around student achievement and steps that we might take in some of the schools that have been struggling. And so we'll wait and see at this point. We hope that some type of definitive decision will be made around accountability results, which is also having an impact on our ability to follow through on our collective bargaining agreements as well. So hopefully we'll have a firm response from the Indiana Department of Education soon. So I don't know if that answers the question, but it's very dynamic and fluid at this point.
Commissioner Odom?
Yeah, I really support this, and I hope that the public and parents and community, understand how big a move this is. Because for most parents, they know more about how their TV is rated, how their car is rated, how the restaurants they eat in are rated, than they know about the school that they go to. And what we're doing is putting in place the responsibility of the district and that principal to communicate to those parents how that school is doing, so that they know the quality of the school that their child is going to. And also what we're doing to improve the quality of the education their child is receiving. I think it's being very proactive, and it's going to be a lot of work on the administration. It's going to be a lot of work for principals, but I think that it's an important thing for us to do so that parents know that, and parents can be more engaged with our schools and helping us design schools that fit the needs of their kids. And I also think that, the innovation schools, I'm really glad that we're looking at different options. The one we heard earlier was different than the one we approved a couple of months ago. And I think that's what we need, is more innovation, more variety, more choices for parents so that they can match their child with the school that's going to best meet their needs. And I think that's where we're going to see the best outcome. So I'm enthusiastically supporting this and look forward to working with the administration to make it work.
Commissioner Sullivan?
I'd just like to commend the administration for taking the lead on this. We don't need to wait for the state to tell us how our schools are doing, because we can make that assessment ourselves, and we can know the schools that we're not satisfied with and take action on those schools. So even though we, always have this kind of threat hanging over us, that's not why we're doing this. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do for our kids. And so I really appreciate that we're looking at doing the right thing, regardless of what outside consequences might be driving us.
Yes, it underscores our effort and intensive support on our schools that have been historically underperforming. Prior to changes to the accountability model, we had been able to dramatically reduce the number of schools that rated D and F, and we will continue to have the same view of progress and effort for our staff and students, regardless of wherever we land on accountability results.
I would just like to say on this issue, and I know communication and transparency comes up a lot when we're talking about things, or talking about some major changes. And we've had this discussion on the board, is that the administration really has to come to the board first, kind of vet their ideas or their thoughts, and get support from this board to move forward. So I know sometimes there's the perception that, oh, it's a done deal, or oh, but the administration can't go out and create some kind of a major change and then bring it back to the board and have the board say, well, that's not really the direction. So I know sometimes it seems it's which came first, the cart or the horse, but there are times that this board has some in-depth conversations with the administration, and then those conversations then filter down to the community, and hopefully those stakeholders do become involved, and it's not necessarily a done deal because the board has discussed some potential changes. So I can't remember now, we've talked about this a long time. Did someone make a motion? We have a motion on the floor and a second? Mm-hmm. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
The next item is item 8.02, which is a update on our agreement for the 16-17 school year with Teach for America to provide placement of corps in the district. Any comments or questions on this item?
Let's have a motion first.
Move approval.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this item. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next item is 8.03, which is a request to enter an agreement as part of our school improvement grants with Marzano research professionals to support John Marshall and Broad Ripple. Ask that commissioners approve the professional services agreement as presented.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve this item. Comments or questions? Commissioner Odle?
One clarifying question. Do we get money from the state to pay for this contract?
Yes,
Or it doesn't come out of our general ed funds?
that is correct.
Good.
And this is one of those examples where these particular schools picked this provider.
Yes.
Call for
Any other-
question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next agenda item is 8.04, request for a field trip out of country for Key Learning Community. Request that Board of School Commissioners approve the field trip request for Key Learning senior students to travel to Kingston, Jamaica during spring break as presented.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve this item. Comments or questions?
I'd like a
Commissioner
key
Odle?
check.
Do we make sure we clear all of our out-of-country field trips with the State Department to make sure it's an area where they feel it's safe for us to travel?
Yes, we follow the color coding, safety and security requirements for travel to places outside of the country.
Mine wasn't a major comment. I was just joking that I wanted to change, but I hope they have fun.
Now, there's no threats at this point, but if that were to change during the time of this field trip, we would notify parents and staff accordingly.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next agenda item is board approval to grant authority for IPS to finalize and execute an amended agreement to the sublease for William Penn School 49 in partnership with the City of Indianapolis Department of Parks and Recreation. We ask that commissioners approve and authorize this amendment as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded that we approve this item. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next agenda item is 8.06 with Peace Learning Center. 7 schools in the district have elected to utilize their school funds to partner with Peace Learning Center to provide support for students as it relates to self-awareness, resilience, and conflict resolution and critical thinking and positive relationships. We ask that commissioners consider this professional services agreement for approval as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this item. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next item is 8.08. We ask that commissioners consider the superintendent performance compensation as presented. Remind commissioners of my comments at the agenda review session that I've requested that the commissioners postpone disbursement of my performance compensation until our teachers receive their compensation outlined in the bargaining agreement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this item. Comments or questions? Commissioner Odle?
Yeah, I just want to, I think we did a thorough review of the school system's performance over the last year. Want to commend the superintendent and all of his staff and all of our teachers, regardless of what our scores show on the most recent testing. I know that there's positive change going on. People are working really hard on behalf of the students, and we hope to continue that energy in the new year and wish everybody a happy holiday, and thank you for a great performance.
Thank you.
Oh, did we vote? We didn't vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next section is superintendent comments and closing comments. I had an opportunity on yesterday evening to attend the Stand-Up University graduation for several IPS schools. Really pleased with just the excitement in the room, the empowerment that we felt from the parents who were graduates, all who had a tremendous story to tell and now are inspired not only to advocate for their children, but children across IPS. I want to commend the work of STAN and Stand Up University and their support for our students and our families. I want to echo Commissioner Odo's comments around JobSpark. It was just really exciting to see over 200 participants today who all have committed to be a part of a special experience with exposing our students to local professionals and also provide mentoring and potentially internship opportunities. We believe that this exciting opportunity will yield new hope, new interest for our young people to consider professions and careers that they may have never thought about doing and open new doors of opportunities. Also want to just again applaud the work of all of our employees over 2015 and this school year, and we had an opportunity today to recognize our transportation employees and surprise them all with breakfast today, and just want to say special thank you to all the bus attendants, bus drivers, everybody on our transportation team that's responsible to getting our students to and from school on time and safely daily. And then lastly is just recognize the work of Commissioner Arnold. This has been our second go-round as board president, and just want to thank you so much for your support, your leadership, being the calm voice, being the one who herds the cats, and just want to thank you for your leadership and the work that we've done together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farabee. Having completed all of our items on the agenda, our next meeting will be our organizational meeting, which will be held on Friday, January 8th at 11 o'clock in this room. We wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we are adjourned.